Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Business podcast. I'm your host, Roy. Of course, we are the podcast that brings a wide variety of guests that talk about a whole diverse set of topics. We're trying to, help our businesses out there succeed. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know, so we get some really good ideas. And sometimes we know where we need some help. We just don't know where to turn. So that's kind of what we hope to provide you with, is some answers. Today is no different. We are very blessed to have Steve Gamlin with us. Steve is now in his 17th year as the Motivational Firewood Guy, and he shares his back-to-basics blend of positivity and humor with corporate and conference audiences around the country. Drawn from a decade in the radio industry, 7 years of stand-up comedy, and 30-plus years personal development journey, Steve teaches his clients to see their desired outcomes, understand their why, then build action plans to achieve them, utilizing his Vision Board Mastery program, as well as live and virtual events. Steve, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. Looking forward to this.
Thank you, Roy. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Yeah, your message is awesome. First, before we even jump into that, though, I'm going to hit you up on the where you got the Motivational Firewood Guy. That's interesting. But, we've talked prior to this, a lot about, just being nice about the whys, making sure our whys are really what the why should be, and kind of how we get there and how we can build that roadmap. So anyway, let's start out with, where did the Motivational Firewood Guy come from?
Very early on in my speaking career, we're talking probably 2004, 2005, I was invited to attend a National Speakers Association meeting in the Boston area, because that's where I live, is in the Northeast. And so I went down there. It was my first time, so I got one of those, blue name badges of shame is what I always called it, because everybody just knows you're new and you're clueless.
Right.
So I just have, Steve written across this blue badge, and I walk in, and this gentleman comes over and says, "Hi, Steve. Hey, my name is Don. So, what type of speaker are you?" And of course, being new, I go, "I'm a motivational speaker." He goes, "All right, what sets you apart?" I said, "I want to help people." He goes, "Well, you're not helping yourself set yourself apart here." And he said, "So many of us are. What makes you different?" And he was so gracious and so patient and so generous with his time. And he kid gloved me big time. I mean, he just helped. After about 5 minutes of me trying to say what made me different, none of which made me different, I said, "Well, look, if someone's paying to come hear me speak, they've got a spark of something in their heart that they want better about their lives, because they're going to hear a speaker. If I share a story or a lesson or one of my own examples of how I survived everything I did to my life and became successful," I said, "it's kind of like I'm sharing motivational firewood. And if they add it to the spark and take an action, they can make their life better." And he says, "All right, one more question. Do you know anything about trademarks?" I said, "Not a thing." He said, "I really like that concept." He goes, "Go write that down and then go look about trademarks." So about $1,100 later, I've officially been trademark or register, whichever one, the Motivational Firewood Guy.
Nice. I like that concept too, because that's what we got to have that spark in order to start the bigger fire. And unfortunately, if we don't have that, it's hard to spark somebody else. So that's a very good illustration. So let's talk about seeing, what we want and the why. I'll let you choose where you want to start, and don't be concerned. We're not under attack. We just live pretty close to an Air Force base, and they're flying a little bit of training this morning. So if you hear it coming over, it's a comforting feeling for us. When we don't hear them flying, we always question what's going on.
Well, the importance of seeing what you want. I mean, over the years, we get the people that do their New Year's resolutions. And what do they write every year? They bust out their broad brush pencil and they write, "I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want more money." Well, same people say that every year. And then right between that week, between Christmas and New Year's, they look in their living room and they're cleaning up and they see this little folded piece of paper keeping the lamp from rocking. And it's got some salsa stains on it and the pizza guy's number. And they go, "I wonder what this is." And then they open it up and they go, "Oh, crap. It was my resolutions for this year."
Right, exactly.
What do? They change the date. they just make them for next year.
Right.
And so what I do with people, individuals, entrepreneurs, and company teams is say, look, all right, companies, stop handing down these numbers every year with, the sheet with the numbers that said, here's your goals. And people, stop broad brushing like be happy, healthy, and more money.
Right.
Start to think what your goals really are and what they look like, feel like, sound like, even smell like. Attach them as emotionally as you can to your senses and really get a gut feel for what you want. Because my definition of success may be different from yours and somebody else's, and 10 different people could be all different. But if we each dial into what we want, and in the case of the work teams that I work with, if you walk into work every day or dial in or whatever it is you do now, if you're connected to why you're there,
right,
and what that paycheck is going to help you to earn and do, and what all of you collectively bringing that energy and dedication to creating your own individual goals and achieving them, what that's going to do for the company, talking about engagement.
Yep.
That's what I do with people, is break it down to what do they look like, feel like, sound like, in many cases even smell like for a goal.
Yeah, and
that's where I start with people.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you bring up, the why. And when we set goals, it's good to instead of me just telling you I need you to do 80% of this, why and the how. And just a brief example is when I was younger, I worked for a public utility, and we had these big old rubber gloves that when we got around anything that was energized or we thought may be energized, we put them on. They had inner liners, the rubber glove, and then a big outer leather glove. And there was a very specific way that you had to fold them to put them back in their little carrying case. And, we had safety guys that would come out, and that was the first thing they'd check. And, you get dinged if they weren't right. I'm telling you, for about 3 years, I could not get those right. Every time I took them out, I had to go back to a manual to figure out how they went in there. Until the guy took me aside and says, here's why you do this. And all the pieces fell into place. I'm like, okay, now I get it. I understand. And I remembered it for the next 20 years. Never even had to think about it again.
Yeah. And it just provides such a roadmap. When you know why, you just know the story behind something.
Right.
It's like you're playing a role. All of a sudden, the script becomes so natural.
Right.
It just becomes a part of who you are when you're connected to that. And when you said he was going to show you why, I thought he was going to show you some like really crispy critter, after pictures, like back in biology in college, they go, here's what a combine can do on a farm.
Yeah.
And they show that. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I thought that's where that was going to go for a second. I got nervous.
No, they actually, used to, the power company would come out and they would take hot dogs and stick in those fingers and poke a hole in them and, show you what you did if you didn't take care of them, what would happen to you. But, yeah, I mean, this was just the simple of, you put the inner liners, palms together, and then the outer ones went with the palms out just in case you had any splinters in them, it wouldn't poke a hole. But, like I said, for a couple years, I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't wrap my head around it until, somebody said, this is exactly why you do that. So I think it's important. We talk, it's a little bit off track, but, when we bring people into our workplace or on our teams, sometimes it's like, here's your chair, here's your computer, here's your task. We don't really give them what integral part do you play in this whole operation? And I think we, as managers, as company owners, I think that we miss out on that's our deficiency, that we really don't sit down and educate these people on the wide range of where do you fall into this bigger scheme of things and just how important you are, because I don't think people realize in their job it's a vital, you're not just somebody that we could do without. You're a vital part of this team, and here's why, because we wouldn't need you if you weren't important.
Yeah. And I used to tell the companies I worked with, I said, look, even if we don't do a vision board project right off the bat, tell you what, the holidays are coming up. Best thing you can give each one of your team members is a picture frame. And you ask them to put whatever's most important to them in their lives, why they're there for that paycheck every week, in that frame. And once a week, I want you to take 5 minutes and have a conversation with someone about what's in their frame and just say, what's the story behind that? Or, wow, who is that? Or what is that? Or why is that so important to you? So you're going to start to see the why and hear it and feel it. And then you also get a feel for what these team members are all about and how best to communicate with them and support them and cheer them on. And, just start connecting with people at that level. And yeah, you don't get the old crack the whip. Here's your numbers. Here's your desk, your
Right.
computer.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you at the end of the year and see whether or not we're going to keep you on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I do some work with companies on employee retention. And of course, that's one of the big steps is getting to know your people beyond just getting to know. I think that guy's name is Steve. He sits like 3 chairs down, or, he shows up every now and then and comes in. I guess he's a worker, or I don't know what he's doing here. But anyway, really get to know them, their families. You should know everything about them. And it's not always easy, but, you have to take that extra step to have that connection in order to, I feel, to keep people engaged and, keep that whole team spirit going.
Yeah,
because I feel
definitely.
like if I just leave Steve over in his corner working, Steve may not be happy, and instead of getting his job done, he may be over there looking for, he may be scrolling through one ad or postings trying to see where he can go next. And so, that personal connection, it's just invaluable, and it's something that we've lost. I feel like, I'm gonna show my age for a minute here, but instead of picking up the phone and calling you, is like, I'm just going to send you a text or an email. I hope that you respond and hope you get the message and you take it well, instead of having that personal communication. So anyway, didn't mean to derail you there. Let's talk about the vision board and that whole process. It's always very interesting to me because I think we can do that as a company probably, and then also we can do that as individuals. So I'll let you kind of take off on that one, where you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, I first heard about vision boards back in the early 2000s when The Secret came out. Now, The Secret, I've got mixed feelings on The Secret. I was a big fan of it, and I still am, but I think they got some of the things wrong, like putting in the genie in the magic lamp, like your wish is my command. Okay, you went a little overboard there. But 2/3 of the way through The Secret DVD, there was a guy named John Assaraf, and he was talking about how he had built vision boards in the past. And he had them boxed up, and one day his son was asking what's in the box, and he showed him, and he said, oh my gosh, we're actually living in the house that I put on my vision board several years before. So it's not a magic slate or a magic lamp, but what it is really dialing in what you want your goals to look like, and then identifying with as much detail as possible and connecting to it as best you can to plant that seed. But what it also does is when you put that kind of into motion in your head, the opportunities to get there start to pop up all around you. You're going to hear things that you go, well, wait a second, that might be my next step to get to. Now that I know what the X is on the treasure map, at least I can point in the right direction.
Right.
Meet the right people, engage in the right resources, learn new skills if I have to, make connections with certain people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I try to do with the vision boards, with the way I do it, versus like at the beginning of the year, you hear people say, hey, we're having a vision board party with wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, and glue sticks. And people show up to those, they drink a little wine, they laugh, there's good energy in the room. Some of them bring all the pictures of things they already want, or they sit there laughing and joking, cutting up magazines, and they glue them on a board. Well, they haven't done any of the work yet,
Right.
in my opinion, to establish where they are now and assess where they are now.
Right.
And then figure out where they want to be so they can establish that road
Right.
to it. I mean, if you're just sitting there drinking your wine, hanging out with a bunch of people laughing, you're going to think a bunch of pictures are really sexy that day. And this is what I want.
Right.
But a couple days later, you might look at it and go, it's not feeling it.
Yeah.
You're not inspired by it. And believe me, I know this. My first 2 vision boards I made in 2005 were an absolute mess. They were worthless.
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks later, I just looked at it and go, well, this is all stuff. I could have just busted out a pen and gone, dear Santa Claus, bring me all this crap.
Right. No,
Wasn't connected, except for building a recording studio. That's the one thing I was so connected with that I made it happen that year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think the roadmap concept, because you use this in strategic planning for people, and it's like, everybody wants to get on board with, and I always kind of use geography, but it's like, okay, we really want to end up in Chicago this year. That's where, that's our place. That's great. Okay, but if we don't know where we're at, we don't know whether to go to the east, or we don't know whether to go to the west. If we're in Utah and we said, well, maybe we'll just head out to the west, we're never going to make it. So I think that's one thing I always tell people is, financially or, in a lot of realms of planning is you've got to know where you are and you have to do a really honest assessment either. We can't do the smoke and mirrors of where we hope that we are, where we would like to be. I mean, it's like, where really are you in this process?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to know. And it's just like when you plug in a GPS or you use Google Maps, it will determine where you are. But with like my old GPS, I had to, turn it on. It will figure out by satellite where I am.
Yeah.
And even older, back in the days of the road maps, when you unfolded it to the size of a picnic table, you had to know where you were to be able to know how to get where you wanted to go. And it's the same way. I mean, there's 7 steps in my Vision Board Mastery program. 10 steps, sorry. We don't even gather pictures till step 7. Okay. The first 6 are all assessing where you are and where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that's not serious. Vision board parties, well, they may not have the depth of work. That's why I created the t-shirt line that says, "Friends don't let friends attend vision board parties." It sold pretty good because people thought it was funny.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that comes out of the, that party environment like that, or if we just tell somebody to do it, is the vision is nice, but we need I think the meat of that project is what are those steps that we have to put in place in order to get there. And I'm not saying that, okay, we want to get, a certain goal, we can put 5 steps. Those are going to be dynamic. And I'm kind of phrasing this as a question, but my opinion is, those are dynamic. That's where we start off today. But as we start that journey, we may discover new information or new things that we need to add or subtract. So it should always be, I guess, in a way that you can update that.
Yeah. No, everything's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I've had people a month after doing events call me up and go, "Hey, Steve, I achieved this goal." I'm like, "Great, excellent, awesome." I'm jumping up and down. I'm cheering and clapping and here in the studio. And then I'll say, "All right, what's next?"
Yeah.
Like, you wanted this. What could this lead to? And then they'll say, "Well, this, all right, what does that look like?" And then I'll say, "Go ahead and put that picture over the other picture, but leave a 1/4 inch hanging out." And if you have a really successful year, your vision board might look like a relief map of the Dakotas, but it's always a work in progress. It doesn't have a beginning or an end until you make another board, which is the continuation of your previous board. That's why I tell people, don't throw these out. 10 years from now, you may have 5 of them or 10 of them in your office. Go back to that first one and look where you are now. It could blow your mind.
Yep. Which also brings us to a good point that something I've tried to become a little bit more evangelistic about is celebrating our wins. So I guess that also gives us something we can look back on, because as people, as humans, I guess, we tend to be hard on ourselves. And I use this example all the time that I got 10 things on my to-do list today. I get 7 of them done, but instead of celebrating 75%, which if I could hit 75%, I'd be making millions of dollars in baseball. But I think about those 3 that I missed, and I spend time, kind of like, why didn't I get those 3? I wished I'd have got those 3, instead of saying, you know what, I got 7 done, awesome, and move on. So anyway, just the keeping the vision boards, I think, is a good idea so we can celebrate our accomplishments.
Yeah. And I have people reach out to me. I tell all my clients, I said, look, every time you achieve even an incremental part, I talk about it like an old wooden roller coaster, because it has to go click, 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 click.
Right.
And you got to do every single click to get to the top of that first hill, because it's all the way the mechanics of it work.
Right.
You can't skip, you can't cheat. There's no hacks. There's no super secret formulas.
Right.
You have to take every single one so you can go over the top and enjoy the ride.
Right.
And I tell all my clients, I said, look, if you have a significant click that happens during the week and you share it on social media, you had better tag me on that. Yep. Because we have a hashtag with my clients. It's hashtag #ClickBabyClick.
Oh, cool.
And we celebrate all the incremental. So I get tagged almost daily on social media. And I'm in here jumping up and down, smiling, laughing. Right. Hey, sometimes I cry with my clients. Yeah. They're so overjoyed at something. Yeah. I sit there, I get emotional with them. It's beautiful, but it all comes down to those little clicks, and you got to celebrate those 7 out of 10. And believe me, I've been guilty of staring at the 3 and saying, Really? Why?
Right, exactly.
Instead of celebrating the 7, I've done it too.
Yep, we
Done
do.
it too.
And I think that's the benefit of having to coach somebody like yourself because, you know, I call you up and say, Steve, left 3 on the table today. You'd be like, yeah, but what'd you take off the table, And again, if we prioritize where the 7 you got done were the high priorities, then it's a win. I mean, we'll take that a win every day. The other thing,
and I work with my people too. Like, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. You work with your people.
I was going to say, when we look back at those first steps, and we're going to be perfectly imperfect, especially at the beginning, and we're going to be clunky, and we're going to be awkward, and some wins are going to be ugly.
Yeah.
I used to be so bad. I'd look back at my early stuff, and I'd go, "Oh my God, how did anybody pay me to deliver that?"
Yeah.
And I would take stuff down offline. Over the past couple of years, I adopted a new way to look at my earliest steps and my earliest interviews and my earliest creations. I just look at it and I go, oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Right.
And it soft blows it a little bit. But it also helps me realize how far I've come. So, because some people say, well, Steve, it's just this. I'm like, well, a week ago, you wouldn't have even done just that.
Right.
So, all right, how comfortable are we going to be next time? One of my clients did her very first radio guest interview last week on Friday, and she was nervous all week. And she sent me a message Friday afternoon. She goes, oh my God, that was so amazing. I have another one Monday. I'm so excited. She goes, now I get it.
Yeah.
Consistency plus momentum equals confidence. So she's off and rocking.
Well, and a couple other things is that, we, for some reason, we think that when we're at starting point 0, that we should be the expert and do everything right and get everything right, which, that's something, that's a message I think social media has perpetuated because we only see the good things. We never see those bad things. And, just like myself, there's a lot of things out there that I'm not proud of, but I look at them as, you know what, it was a bad day or it was that growth phase that you're getting over. So it, kind of shows you how far you come. And the other part of that is, we're not going to be on our game every day. I would love to be because I have awesome guests and this is such a fun thing to do, this podcast. But I mean, I'm going to tell you, I got times that, maybe I'm just not feeling it that day. And it's a lot clunkier of a show than what some of the better ones are. So we just have to say, you know what, that's life. What is it? Success doesn't look like a line from the bottom left to the top right. I mean, it's like you're all over the place as you go through there.
Oh yeah. I used to tell people, I said, look, it's like trying to draw something on an Etch-a-Sketch in the backseat of a car doing 85 miles an hour over speed bumps. That's what the road looks like some days.
Exactly. So let's talk about what do we want to put on our vision boards and how we select it. Because, we've had a lot of conversations about happiness and what we think about happiness is. And, so let's talk about how would we be best suited to select these items that we want to put up.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing people need to understand is that we always hear the whole work-life balance thing. So people think it's work and it's life. I prefer, Tony Tsai was the CEO of Zappos for many years. Very sadly, he passed away recently. But one of the concepts that he championed was work-life integration, meaning all parts of your life, because you wear so many hats all day long.
Right.
So I work with a life wheel, and it's a pretty standard thing that's out there in personal development. It talks about, let me see if I can get them all. Your career, your finances, your physical health, your emotional well-being, your relationships, your connection with the world in a real way, your spirituality, your ethics, morals, and integrity are in there as well. So all these different parts of your life is where I start with people. I said, look, even if you just set one goal for each of them for the entire year, you're going to be so much farther ahead of most other people. And you're going to all of a sudden find out that they all work together. Like if you intentionally say, here are the emotions I want to feel on a more regular basis. That may change some of your relationships. You may cancel some of them. Yeah. Because they bring you down. Yeah. You may want to be around the people who put you in that mood all day. Great. If you eat well, if you get enough sleep, if you drink enough water during the day, you're going to have enough energy to do more work, to make your career better, to make more money. That's great. Connection with the real world. Right now, where we're so virtual with a lot of things, a lot of people miss that day-to-day connection. I see so many people out there saying, when this is all over, I'm going to hug like it's ugly because,
Right.
because they want that connection again. Right. And some people, and you and I will find this very hard to believe. Some people will. There are people out there whose ethics and morals are really low because they want to succeed financially.
Right.
That happens as well. So what I try to tell people is they go, well, look, mine are all good. I said, okay, think back to the last 10 business decisions and interactions. Were you that ethical, integrity, moral person in every single one of them? Yeah, I might have fudged something a little. Okay, well, let's just make sure that from now on,
right,
we try to live up to the best of what we feel is the best version of us, not what society tells us,
right,
what we can live with.
Right.
And all those things added together is what can make you happy. Because if I'm happy, then this must be working and this and this. They all work together.
Yeah.
Because if I was a workaholic for my decade on the radio. I worked 50, 60 hours a week, and I was DJing weddings and corporate events every weekend. I absolutely fried myself. I wasn't sleeping well. I was living on fast food.
Yeah.
And at age 35, I was just falling apart.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, just falling apart. And that's what led to me becoming a speaker, was that whole year or two in the ashes of all of that.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to learn what I now teach. Everything I teach now came out of my notes, because I take a lot of notes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it can be a detriment, but I'll speak for myself, is that when you enjoy what you like, it's like you never work. You're having fun, or that's your hobby, but you can still tend to overdo it. You still have to, I've got somebody that can tap me on the shoulder and say, time to turn it off and let's have a little us time, and, take that time for our relationships instead of, but it's not, it's not a drudgery in that, but that can be a drawback, because it's not a drudgery. It's fun. There's always like 10 other things to do, and you're always scrambling around that, it can get you in trouble if you're not careful. So, the other thing I like you saying about drinking water, sleeping and eating, because I used to have a note over my desk that I had like 6 or 8 things that, I needed to do every day. And that's it, because sleep is so important to us, being happy and healthy.
Yep.
Which kind of leads us to the next thing, is our happiness. It's a tricky thing, because I think on our vision boards, a lot of times we want to put the big house, the fancy car, all these monetary gains, things like that, objects. And very seldom, when I see these, do I see people with relationships or health or all those things. And so I guess let's just talk for a minute about that false sense of happiness. I put the big house up there, and so I'm working, I get it, and then it's like, okay, now what? There's that letdown. You don't get that emotional high like I achieved it. It's there. It's because that's really not where that happiness is going to come from.
Right. I mean, you were sold the bill of goods because you probably saw some big motivational guy in a video, and he's there kneeling next to his Lamborghini with the yacht in the background and the mansion and all that. What most people don't know is all those videos, most of them are all just rented anyway.
Yeah.
For those videos. But you were sold what somebody else's opinion was of happiness.
Right.
And you're not emotionally tied to it. You were just told that that's what it is. So you follow that, and all of a sudden, if you do happen to achieve it, hey, rock on, good job. But you're not emotionally connected to it, which is the approach I try to tell people. And some of the people I talk to say, Steve, all I want is a cabin in the woods with a really good Wi-Fi signal. And I'm happy because I can go fishing at lunchtime, or I can go snowshoeing in the winter. And they said that, and I sit there and I watch them while they're telling me the stories. That's my favorite thing, is tell me the story behind that.
Yeah.
Like why you want it. When I see them light up, I go, okay, I believe you.
Yeah, and
what can we do to get you there?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you my story, because and it's funny you say the cabin in the woods with Wi-Fi. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 right this moment, so we're working on the Wi-Fi. But about 6 years ago, I just made a decision to sell everything and move out to a little cabin in the woods, and it sounds counterintuitive, but I'm the happiest now because I don't have all this stuff. I mean, it's just stuff to keep up with, but I get to wake up in the morning and see the deer out in the back feeding. I woke up last night with my one of my cameras outside going off, and it was a little family of raccoons that was running across the front porch. So, to me, those are the things that really bring me joy. And, every time we get out, walk around, go walk the dogs and all that, it's like, it just makes me well up that, with that happiness. And so it's, like I said, it's counterintuitive because we took a huge step, what a lot of people would say a huge step backwards, but it's been the most awesome thing because this is what we enjoy. This is what we want. And, people talk about being on vacation. I'm like, we're lucky. We're on vacation every day. We live in paradise. All we have to do is step outside. So I guess the point with all of that is just be very selective and be very thoughtful and mindful of, what we put on these boards that, what is we want to achieve, what is really going to bring us that happiness.
Yeah, most definitely. And sometimes I have people that say, well, Steve, I've got 3 or 4 different ideas. I don't know which one is going to make me happiest. I said, okay, you have a mirror in your house anywhere? Yeah. All right. Get the pictures, and I want you to look in that mirror, and I want you to hold up the picture in the mirror and look at it, and then look at yourself. Whichever one makes you smile the most, start there. Awesome. Because that way it's really you, and it's your heart, and it's your mind, and it's your, who you really are.
Right.
That you're going to be that tied to it. I mean, there are people out there, and I've seen these. Buy our vision board starter kit. We've got a picture of a house and a car and all this stuff. I'm like, really? Yeah. Somebody asked me they said, Steve, you should make a vision board starter kit. Oh, hell no, because I don't know what you want.
Right.
I would never do that to somebody. It's all about you. If the lessons I share inspire you to dig deep in yourself and find it, rock on, we win.
Yeah.
But to tell someone what success is and have them buy into that, boy, it's going to be a hollow victory when they scrape and their way to the top of that hill thinking that's where the happiness was. Well, it wasn't. Your credit card's already been charged and you just bought somebody else's dream.
Exactly. Yeah. So we need to really make these personable and, I think, just give it some thought. It's not something I think you can just put together. I like your idea about holding the picture up in the mirror and saying, is this really me? Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's what we expect, what we think society expects of us, which that's just that leads to a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
And some of us are
it can, because some of those victories are really hollow.
Yeah. And some of us, we're lucky enough to find out what we really love and what we really want and are blessed. Some people, I guess you just have to do a lot of soul searching and a lot of reflection. Take some time out for yourself just to be alone with your thoughts. I think that's something that we don't do enough these days. We've got so much stimulation with computers and phones and going here and going there that we really need to take more time to just be with our thoughts.
Yeah. And I recommend to people, look, even if you burn it after, I don't care. Put pen to paper.
Right.
And just go be brutally honest with yourself start off with what you love most about your life right now. Like what's really going well? What's making you happy? Could be the tiniest thing that you make the best pancakes of anybody you've ever met. Awesome. Yeah. Start with that. I make great pancakes. And just start from there about what you like, and then switch gears and say, all right, what's not perfect yet?
Yeah.
And then this is nothing I've created. I mean, other people in my industry say this. I want people to understand that I'm sharing what has come into my circle.
Right.
I then share back. But that's one of the best things is I put pen to paper every day.
Yeah.
And I start every day with 3 moments of gratitude.
Yeah.
The things I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
You want to talk about fueling your fire. You write down the 3 weirdest, cool, fun, awesome, positive things that happened to you yesterday in less than a line each. 5 years later, if you did it right, you're going to feel that same joy just by reading it. And I've proven it over and over.
Yep. Very important, especially, in today. I think sometimes we can get hung up in that negative, but we do have most of us, there are people that have tragedies, and I don't want to make light of that or belittle them. We do go through those periods in life, but like we went on a walk this morning. It was nice and crisp, and when we were coming back, the base, which is quite a ways away, they were playing the national anthem, and I just we were just talking amongst ourselves like, how cool is that, that we can hear this national anthem from the base where we are, it's coming across some traffic and other stuff, that you'd think would cut it off. But, it's just those little bitty things, I think, when you have a clear head, you can just be thankful for, for other people might consider that to be corny stuff, but it's really something to be, that we are thankful for.
Yeah. And if you can find those moments every day, I mean, gosh, at the end of 2020, I saw these things on social media, on Facebook. Describe 2020 in 3 words. And I saw like 20 or 30 different versions of Total Crap Storm just in a row. I mean, I'm not even going to say what some of the words were because I want to respect your show. But I wrote, learned new ways.
Yeah.
Because it did. It taught me, if anything else, the isolation and having to switch to virtual actually inspired me to, with my digital team, create new ways to deliver my programs and products throughout the world that we hadn't even thought of prior to that.
Right.
And now that's the basis of the core part of what we do. Yeah. So, hey, I can't say it was a throwaway year.
Yeah.
And I still managed to, even in 2020, even in the pandemic, and one of my business just getting a wrecking ball to it. The DJ business is just gone.
Yeah. Because
there's no events.
Yeah.
I still wrote about 1,000 moments of gratitude last year. In the midst of it all. So I've got close to 1,000 reasons why last year was pretty dang good still, despite everything else. Not to minimize, because I know a lot of people, I was hit very hard by it, but I choose to just keep finding that little bit of light coming through the clouds, even though it is storming out there.
Yeah, yeah.
I just keep trying to follow wherever that light's hitting. I want to stand there and look up through,
Yeah, and my, I think my priest put it the best that I've heard in a while is that our minds are grinders, and they grind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We get to choose what we grind through there, whether it's the negative stuff that we pick up or the positive. And, I think in our previous conversation, we talked about this, that as long as we're grinding positive, there's no room for that negative, to move in there, that we can kind of keep it pushed out. Not that we're not going to have a bad day, not that something's not going to upset us, but when it does, we can think about, that went really bad. Not happy, but let's think about what I am happy about for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And put that smile back on.
And if nothing else, it puts us in a good place to take the next step. Like we're not just taking that negativity, because what a lot of people fail to remember, we are 100% responsible for how we react and respond to what happens to us.
Exactly.
It's on us.
Yeah.
Too many people forget that, negative in, negative right back out, magnified.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, and we control our joy, and I think that's, I will say that I have been guilty of this, and it still happens, is something bad happens in the morning, and it just wrecks your whole day. I mean, you have to tell the wife and the kids and the dog, stay away from me because it's, it's bad. And then you, at the end of the day, you think, well, why did I let that thing wreck my whole day? Because, again, so many other great things. But then it kills your productivity. It kills your creativeness. It just really can set you on a bad path to spiral out of control. So best to be in touch with yourself, pick up on those feelings so you can, kind of redirect.
Yep. Oh, it happened to me very, very recently. So as you're saying that, you see me nodding. I'm like, I'm reliving a recent experience where I was trying to do an act of kindness and help a family member. And I was frustrated because I had to help because somebody else I felt should have been helping.
Yeah.
And I had a compressor in the back of my Honda CRV, and it rolled in the corner, and the handle went right through one of the side windows and smashed it to bits.
Oh.
So that day, nobody wanted to come near me.
Yeah, right. Oh,
I finally got myself back under control. It took about a day and a half.
Yeah.
And then I realized, look, nothing good has come from this.
Yeah.
Me being this way. So I threw my little tantrum. I stomped my feet. I said a couple of loud words that my mom would probably roll her eyes at. Got over it and went out and earned the money to pay for the replacement of the window. So.
No, and I think that's we have to let ourselves feel that way. We can't not feel the upset, but I think it's, like how long do we let that go on? And it's such good advice to just have our moment and then pick it back up and put the smile back on and figure out how we're going to get past this. because
I think we should actually videotape ourselves having our little tantrums. And then when we're better, look back at it and go, really?
yeah,
Oh my gosh, again, oh my gosh, that's adorable. Look at him throwing his little fit. Look at, he stomped his feet and he's giving the finger to the door. And
right.
just, it's some of it just comes off real silly when we get back in a good headspace and hey, we got to blow off steam now and then. It happens. It just does. Because I can't stand the people who say every day above ground's a great day because that is the biggest steaming pile of crap ever. They're not all good, but it's how we react and respond to how we choose to proceed. That's what makes it a good day.
And kind of tying that back to our eating, drinking water, and getting our sleep and our exercise, because that's the other thing. I try to, if I can get out and take a few walks every day, it makes me feel so much better. But I tend to handle adversity better when I'm doing what I need to be doing for myself. We'll put it that way. I don't know how, when I'm taking care of me, it's like adversity doesn't, but if you've been up all night eating, been through the drive-through the last 3 meals that you had, some little bitty thing will tend to set you off versus, when we're in a good space, we can deal with it.
Yeah. And it starts right from the get-go, first thing in the morning. I mean, I used to be like, grab some toast, or if there's some leftover bacon or what we call paper bacon, you can cook it in the microwave in like 26 seconds. Right. And I look at that. And then one day I said, look, I'm just feeling sluggish by 9 o'clock because I got bacon grease in my bloodstream.
Right.
So I started just this mantra in my head. I said, let's take a trip to Mango Swamp. So I started making smoothies with either kale or collard greens are real good for your heart. Mango or pineapple, a banana, some yogurt, some cinnamon in there too, because that's good for an appetite suppressant, and some coconut water. And I just started making these smoothies a couple days a week. And it only takes me a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And it tastes so good. And I always got to remember to rinse the cups, because otherwise the kale gets stuck inside the straw and then it won't come out. My wife doesn't like that.
Yeah, right.
But I get up in the morning and I'll just be like, oh, I'm feeling tired. I better get down to Mango Swamp. And I just gave it that name. And so someday I'll have a smoothie stand called Mango Swamp.
Nice.
But it gets me in a good spot, and then I got better energy all day. Yeah. So it's these little decisions we make and getting enough sleep. And if I'm not feeling it in the morning, I'll hit snooze and go back to sleep for an hour and wake up better. I just always do. Yeah.
Yeah, when you open up your smoothie truck, if you'll park it at Hampton Beach out there, I'll be one of the first customers lining up to come out there.
I'm going to put it right near Blink's fried dough, which is legendary out there. I'm just sit there and cry because actually I learned how to make fried dough as well.
Oh.
But the Mango Swamp smoothie is probably a little better for me than all that fried dough used to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so Steve, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us for sure today. It's been an awesome conversation, a lot of great things to think about. Before I let you go, a couple questions. First off is, what is something that you use in your daily life, professional, personal? What's something that you do that you really feel adds value?
I think the greatest thing I ever learned was a lesson I got from one of my grandfathers. And he never actually said it, but he lived it. It was just real simple. Leave at least one situation a day better than you found it. It could be with a kind word, an act of kindness. You could just smile at somebody because you never know how their day's going.
Right.
So if you just look for that opportunity, keep your head on a swivel. And if you're one of those people that says, well, I never have ideas, next time you go grocery shopping, if you see an abandoned carriage out there in the parking lot, don't complain that people are lazy and left it there. Put it back in the corral or bring it all the way back to the store. And if you can, even better, wipe the handle down and offer it to someone else.
Awesome.
And there's your kindness. So
that's great advice.
Nice
I think once you do that enough, you'll start picking up things, but there's always something we can do to help somebody out. All right. Well, great. Well, Steve, how could people reach out, get a hold of you, and, get started letting you help them, coach them through this process?
Yep, it's nice and easy. If you go to motivationalfirewood.com, everything I have is right there under that roof. So motivationalfirewood.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again, Steve. We appreciate it. Great conversation. So you can find us, of course, at www.thebusinessofbusinesspodcast.com. We're on all the major social media platforms, a video link of this will go up on YouTube as well when we get the episode published. And until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your business.